Greetings, friends. Welcome to the program. Sam Mirejovsky here, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian, reporting for duty. Sam at what'srightshow.com is my email. And of course, I am checking my email here throughout the show and will respond to any questions you may send in. So I may seem like a trivial story. I assure you it's not. This termination and fight between Trump and the Federal Reserve, specifically Lisa Cook, the governor that was terminated by Trump this week, who now is suing to keep her job, promises to be quite the showdown. Now, here's what's going on with this, and here's why it's important. Trump is flexing his presidential muscle. Trump is pursuing a strategy unlike any previous Republican to clear out the underbrush in his administration. When Trump in 2015 and 2016 campaigned on draining the swamp, his biggest problem, frankly, was that he didn't do it when he got into office. He didn't do it certainly quick enough. And before he knew it, enough people were there in place conspiring against him and ultimately thwarting his agenda. Now, the fundamental reason, and Trump realized this when he left office in 2021, that he did not drain the swamp is that he surrounded himself with people in his administration in the first term who were friendly to maintaining these existing relationships. And so there was a widespread tolerance for maintaining these various odious people in power. But Trump's, like I said, he's learned from this. He's not going to do it again. And so he's clearing this all out. Now, you know, this Lisa Cook lady, this is the person who went in and within 2 weeks signed loan documents for 2 separate properties, alleging that both were her primary residence. This is frustrating because, of course, we all understand if you've gone through the loan process, you know you get better terms, you get a more favorable rate. You have to put less money down, have a lower down payment when you have a primary residence. I understand why she did it. She did it for the financial convenience of it. The same way people cheat on their taxes. Well, if you lie to the IRS about what you made, you pay less money in taxes. Make perfect sense, right? To dismiss this as some small thing is, of course, not right. Now, I love that a number of prominent people in the administration are calling this out. I love that that the left, by the way, is coming to Lisa Cook's support. And I even love the fact that in her filing, she pulls out immediately. She files a lawsuit, okay? I was curious. I went to look at it. I wanted to see which of her primary personal residences she would put down for her address. I wanted to know. I was just curious. I said, well, okay, where does this person actually live? No, she put her office address, the office address at the Fed that she got canned from. And the reason this is going to turn into such a showdown is that Jerome Powell, already embattled and under scrutiny by the Trump administration, not for the least of things, his massive $3 billion remodel of Fed headquarters in D.C., that he is allowing her to stay in this position. Now, for Powell, it's a simple thing, right? She is an ally of his. And so she's somebody who has reliably voted with Jerome Powell. He does not want to lose governors on the board that are favorable to him. It matters to you and I because, by the way, if you're not out there cheating and getting a sweetheart mortgage deal by lying the way Adam Schiff and Lisa Cook do, and you've tried to get a mortgage recently, guess what? It ain't easy. Yeah, I'll share something here personal, if I can. I'm very lucky. My personal residence, primary residence, okay, in Las Vegas, I paid for in cash. I'm not boasting, but that's just what I was able to do. The wife and I went to buy a few years back a vacation home. Again, I'm very privileged to be able to do this. I did get a mortgage for this vacation home. I could have done what Adam Schiff did. I could have done what Lisa Cook did. I could have very easily, given the fact that I didn't have another mortgage, I could have very easily gone to the bank and said, this is my primary residence. And unlike Lisa Cook and unlike Adam Schiff, I wouldn't have had this pesky business of a different residence that I'd been financing from that bank or a different bank. I could have done all this. It would be very tempting. Now, I happened to get this mortgage when rates were going through the roof. I think my rate is like 6.9%. I could have gotten a point less. A point less had I just been willing to be a cheat. Now, I'm not telling you anything you don't know because you do the same thing, right? You would not, under penalty of perjury, lie. You wouldn't commit bank fraud. The problem that we have here is bigger than Adam Schiff. It's bigger than Lisa Cook. It's that we have people in our government who have normalized dishonesty. They behave above the law. And by the way, these are the people, the same people, Adam Schiff in particular, who for 4 years berated Donald Trump, and by the way, all of his supporters and his allies and his lawyers over every little thing, every ticky-tack, in Trump's case, literally made up allegations and almost led him to personal, professional, and financial ruin. And now they want grace? I think about it. The best part of the Adam Schiff and Lisa Cook mortgage saga is that, Schiff's denying it categorically. Lisa Cook today, I think 2 hours ago, I'm already doing show prep, it pops up on my screen. Lisa Cook admits, those were my signatures on the form, yeah, but I didn't intend to do it. Intent is not an element. You either tell the truth under oath, or you don't. Why you did it, or your motivations for doing it, or your intentionality of doing it, doesn't matter. It's wholly irrelevant. And the problem with Cook is that, frankly, the more she speaks and presents herself, I realize that this is somebody who is entirely unqualified to hold this very serious post. She has it because of her race. She has it because of DEI. She is an affirmative action hire. And she is leading monetary policy for the entire country, for the largest economy in the world. And her decisions, and I'm convinced that they're poor, her decisions trickle down to each and every American. They affect you. They affect me. And what we have in a president today is he says, enough. These people are going to be held accountable. These people in our government that go around criticizing and bloviating and self-aggrandizing, amassing enormous amounts of power, these people no longer are above the law. You don't get to talk endlessly about how Trump is no different than any other citizen. No different. The law is, Lady Justice is blindfolded, right? She does not see who the defendant is. Can be the lowliest among us all the way up to the President of the United States. Well, by that standard, a lowly senator and a Fed Board of Governor are certainly not exempt from justice. And that's the story here. By the way, there's another component. I'll get to this next. which is to say, I've long talked about the sloppiness of these people. They got too comfortable because they never had any scrutiny. And now we're in the scrutiny era. Let me tell you, I guess this is the price you pay for poking the bear, a.k.a. Donald Trump. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT, back in a moment.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
Hi, welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT, the What's Right show, brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right. Fun fact, I'm going to be on a little bit later today with Riley Lewis on OAN. I'm going to be right after Joe Exotic. So that's a lineup. I was on with John Solomon, and I had Mike Benz on before me. So what? That's my week. How's your week going? Okay, well, email me, sam@whatsrightshow.com. Always love to hear from all of you folks. Okay, by the way, a little update here. I just saw this blip on my screen. A report from Minneapolis PD investigating yesterday's massacre at the Catholic school. They have, quote unquote, not been successful in speaking with the shooter's mom. The police further would not comment whether they've made contact with the father. So we'll put a pin in that and see if there's some developments here while we have our couple hours together. Anyway, here's gosh, I'm all fired up too about this Lisa Cook thing. This Federal Reserve hag who is voting against lowering your interest rates, then decides while she's either raising rates on you or refusing to drop them now that the economy is going gangbusters, and I've got some news on that as well, guess what she does? She goes and cheats. The same thing that Schiff is accused of doing. She goes in and allegedly, okay, well, no, she's admitted to it now that the signatures are hers. So she's not disputing this. She's not disputing. One loan for a primary residence, 2 weeks later, signs documents for a second loan. You know, I was thinking about this, Robbie, a little bit because let's see, I've bought 1, 2, 3, let me see, probably like 3 or 4 properties where I've gotten a mortgage. And you know what my suspicion is? My suspicion, I have a question. Is it bigger? Is this fraud bigger than just this one allegation that she attested to both properties being her primary residence? When that's not possible, right? By definition. I wonder, here's what I'm getting at. I wonder if the two loans, the two banks, knew about each other. Because, it's normal that you go and shop a loan to different banks, right? If you've got a good broker and they're going to take it to different banks. So they're pulling your credit sort of all at the same time to, you've got multiple hits on your credit for each application that you submit. What if she misled both banks into thinking she was only in that particular time period buying one property? Looking at the timing, it could very well be that the first loan wouldn't have hit her credit report until the second, before the second loan funded. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I have no reason to believe that that's the case, but I'm telling you that could be this could be even worse than we know. Now, the defenses here, some of the defenses are just wow. Paul Krugman, who is, how would you describe Paul Krugman? He's the crazy uncle that comes over on Thanksgiving and has 2 glasses of wine and then proceeds to start saying crazy things to everybody in the room. Paul Krugman, economist, supposedly, says the reason behind the firing of Lisa Cook is just completely nuts. It's completely insane. Listen to this.
Anything that's being raised pertains to, back when she was a professor at Michigan State, not at the Fed. Normally, firing for cause means that you're drinking on the job or you're stealing office supplies or something like that. It's something related to not doing the job. And there's been no hint of that. Nothing, no one has claimed, even the Trump people aren't trying to claim that she's doing a bad job at the Fed, that she's unqualified or behaving inappropriately. So this is crazy. This is, if I cheated on my 3rd grade exam, should I be fired from my current job? This is completely insane.
I'm sorry, the Fed, one of the duties of the Fed is to police our financial system. If you've got a board of governor of the Fed who is engaging in mortgage fraud, this is, I don't know, this is like putting Al Capone in charge of Sing Sing or Alcatraz. Also, side note, didn't we have a major recession and economic fallout that happened as a result of widespread mortgage fraud? Isn't it kind of still a little bit sensitive to this topic? Wait, so if she took home a stapler from the Federal Reserve office, fire her for that, but not if she's engaged in mortgage fraud? This is just lunatic stuff. Scott Bessent, yesterday on Fox Business Mornings with Maria, had this to say, and I think, by the way, this is a very cogent argument. This is basically where the Trump administration is coming from.
If a Fed official committed mortgage fraud, that this should be examined, and that they shouldn't be serving as one of the nation's leading financial regulators. And what we haven't heard from Ms. Cook is we haven't heard her say, "I didn't do it." We haven't heard her say, "I didn't do it." She just keeps saying the president can't remove her. The other thing, too, that I have called in the recent past for an internal review of all the Fed's operations, and I've encouraged Chair Powell to do this on an internal basis before there is an external review. And this is the kind of thing that needs to be addressed, because the Fed is an unaccountable institution, and its relationship with the American people depends on a high level of trust. And incidents like this puncture that trust. So President Trump is trying to make sure that anyone who serves at this institution has the trust of the American people.
This is exactly right. Now, I mentioned this before. I think these people have all been used to having Paul Krugman level scrutiny of their actions, and that they have all gotten very sloppy over the years. There was never an expectation that a George W. Bush presidency, for example, was going to question what a member of Congress on the Democratic side did or didn't do on his mortgage application. For Republicans, in our infinite defeatism that has consumed us as a party for much of my adult life, that was a third rail. You didn't go there. You just let it be. And my takeaway on that is, and I've said this many times in different ways, that they just got sloppy. Now, we conservatives, we Republicans, have to be very careful. We have to mind our P's and Q's, because we know that at any point in time, they'll come along with a little lawfare and look to string us up, right? Get us any way they can. They'll look at us with a microscope. We don't have their level of protections. The elites exercise a lot of power in this. The selective prosecution argument, actually kind of a great next point I want to get to when we come back. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky here, the What's Right show brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. So, folks, this story is going to heat up, trust me, because it's all about accountability, and the left is screaming. It's one more example of how Trump is boxing the opposition into a corner. They're all coming out to defend mortgage fraud. That is what a defense of Lisa Cook is all about. This is the embattled board of governor of the Federal Reserve. It's hugely important because what I want to see happen here is the president of the United States. I want to see Donald Trump be able to regain control over the Fed. I want to see the Fed, I obviously want rates to come down. I think our economy is showing a proof of life. Everywhere we look right now, CNBC today had to eat crow over the numbers. All the experts have been claiming that the economy is going to go in the toilet, that Trump's foray into tariff enforcement is going to doom us. And the panicans were all wrong. And against this backdrop, the economy increasing, everything, we need to keep it going. We need to make sure that we ease some of our money supply. Here's Rick Santelli talking about GDP being up over the year and inflation steady at 2%. We would have dreamed of 2% inflation at any time during Biden's term in office.
3% was our last look. It now jumps up to 3.3%. But from a comp basis, that would still be the best quarter since September of 23, third quarter of 23. Consumption, always important in a consumption economy. It remains strong. 1.4, our first look. 1.6, our modified look. 1.6 will be the best consumption since the last quarter of 24, when it was well above. It was at 4%. Now, the pricing index, and maybe this has more relevance considering all the issues of the day the press is on with the Fed, well, it remains at 2%. No changes there.
Now, the pricing index, that is what we call inflation, okay? The other number, the 3.3 number, is GDP growth. That's good. I thought, last time I checked and was, touching base with the experts, they were all telling us we'd be in a recession by now. There are no alarm bells. And I know there are people out there. By the way, there's people even on our side of the aisle that occasionally will pop up and chirp up somewhere talking about how our economy is doomed. Now, I will admit, if we do not lower rates soon, the money that's here's what happens when you have these ridiculously high interest rates. Number one, first problem is that people begin to pull cash out of the economy. People hoard cash. Why? Two reasons: risk, and the second is they're actually getting a return on it. When interest rates are low, does it help you to put it in the bank and collect, 2% or 1%? But if you can get 5% and just keep it there and hold it there, that's not bad. People will take that. Now, obviously, cash being removed from the economy, now that means that there is not enough investment. That means if, for example, you've got a great business idea and you're like, I'm going to do this, and here's my business plan, here are my credentials, here's everything, I've meaning credentials, not school, but here's my previous expertise, here's my team, right? Here's my business plan, here's how we're going to do it. And you go to the bank, or you go to private equity. There's not enough private equity to go around because people are holding it back. Now, of course, certain sectors, right? AI and things, lots of money flowing around. There is an enormous amount of cash that is waiting to be deployed. And again, I don't mean this in a boastful way, folks. I'm a little bit more than a talk show host. Okay, I have couple of other day jobs where I make real money. And by virtue of those jobs, I have the benefit of interacting with some very sophisticated people. And some of them, my friends and business associates and wealth advisors, things like that. So I hear what's out there. I'm telling you, people want to deploy money, but it's just they don't feel like it's the right time. And one of the major, I think one of the major motivators that they would have is if interest rates dropped. So I'm putting this out there. Now, the labor market is the other part of this. And this is where Santelli on CNBC had to eat crow too. Because again, these people have been talking all about tariffs, and Trump and everything. Oh, so bad, right? And the Federal Reserve is standing by. Remember, again, what is this Lisa Cook thing all about? Is it just that she cheated on her mortgage? Well, of course, that's a big thing. But the real problem is that we have obstinate opponents of any kind of success for America if it would potentially, possibly, in some way, benefit Donald Trump. So put it another way, you have people here who are in charge of monetary policy who ought to be dispassionate in this and ought to look at just the numbers. But they're not looking at just the numbers. They're looking at the orange man in the Oval Office and going, if we do something that might help the Trump economy, then it will help Trump politically. It will help MAGA. It will hurt us, Democrat deep staters. So we won't do it. These are people that will sabotage you and your family for political power. These people are lower than low. They could walk under a pregnant rattlesnake. That's how low they are to the ground. So anyway, here's Santelli talking about the job market. Again, more good news.
Initial jobless claims have been awfully well behaved. Nothing changes there, Andrew. 229,000 from a slightly modified 235 that turns into 234. Now we subtract 5,000, end up at 229,000. 229,000, once again, just dovetails right in. I think the most important issue is we have 250,000 right on the nose on the first week in June. You have to go to October of last year to find a number above 250,000. So it's hard for me to get worried about this. And if this is considered the best real-time evaluation of the labor market, there's no issues that it's sending. It's not sending any smoke signals.
Well, there it is. And yet you have Jerome Do-Nothing Powell protecting a fraud artist, governor of the Federal Reserve, allowing her to fight her termination by Trump, allowing her to use her office address for the lawsuit, meanwhile shafting all of America just so he can be the big, albeit quite little, man. That's the state of things. By the way, can I just say something? This just is a visual that keeps coming into my mind. So Trump is going and firing people. And Lisa Cook's not the only one. He's fired other people. By the way, big news today, the CDC director got fired. And in the wake of her departure, other people have left the CDC. And we'll get to that. If we've got a moment, we'll certainly try to cover it because lots going on there. But, these people have these jobs and Trump comes in and fires them like, no, we're not leaving. I remember years ago, it's been a decade. I had a gal who I terminated at the office and she just wouldn't leave. I had to call the cops. I was like, well, I'm going to trespass you. I mean, you got to pack your stuff up and go. You could disagree with the termination. You could hire a lawyer. You can sue me. I don't really care. I'm not giving you a reason. I don't have to give you a reason. You're out of here. You're done. Now is your last moment at work. And if you don't leave, I got to get you out. So I had to actually call the cops. It was the strangest thing I've ever experienced. Now, Trump is dealing with this all the time. These people are like, I'm not going to go. So I'm picturing Lisa Cook, okay, as one of those people in the body camera, videos that you see. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. The nice police officer pulls somebody over, okay, and then the cop says, ma'am, I need you to step out of the car. And the lady goes, I'm not stepping out of the car. I'm not doing it. And then you know how that video ends. The video ends with her laying on the ground, getting tased, getting handcuffed, going to jail, when she just simply could have, I don't know, done what she was told. It never ends well. This is not going to end well for Lisa Cook. And my other observation is, if you're going to fight this as a termination for cause, you have to get at the issues of what the for cause is. The for cause is here allegations of mortgage fraud. So in order to fight it, Lisa Cook basically has to go in and disprove the allegation, which, based on everything I'm seeing here, she can't do. So what's going to happen? She'll end up proving up a criminal case against her. I said this the other day. By fighting for her job, she'll end up putting herself in jail. These people are genuinely dumb. And the fact that this person is in this position kind of boggles the mind, because I am sure there are plenty of more sophisticated, intelligent, capable financial experts that could be at the Federal Reserve. But this is what happens when you put diversity as a high-level attribute for a job applicant. It never works out well, does it? Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, back in just a sec. All right, folks, just a quick point here. Mark, where did I find this? Oh, yeah, here. Okay. This is interesting. So many times you're going to hear from people about how the Republican Party will die, basically, as soon as Trump leaves office. That it's over, right? Because Trump is MAGA, MAGA is Trump, and the GOP is nothing without either. So I saw this, the baseball player Mark Teixeira is running now as a conservative congressman in Texas. And the first thing he did to announce, he's like a famous guy, the first thing he did to announce his candidacy was to claim that he is America first and that he wants to make America great again. I'm just pointing this out. People are flocking to the brand. They're adopting the brand. And I think the rebranding of the Republican Party in the era of Trump will remain and will outlast Trump. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. Now, speaking of Trump being around past 2028 as a political force, this is one of the most brilliant things that Trump has done. Do you remember when the whole I'm going to run again for a third term thing started? And I told you that the intent behind it was to mess with mentally the Democrats and get them to fight Trump and continue fighting Trump and have Trump remain relevant politically and not be a lame duck president. That it wasn't real. And then even Trump backed away from it. He's like, I'm just having a good time. But he continues to troll. And the crazy thing is, when it comes to the feeble-minded Democrats, it's working. It is. Well, yesterday there was a summit sponsored by Politico. Gavin Newsom went up there and did some sign language, along with answering some questions from the reporter. And this is the whole thing of Trump and 2028 and the hats has gotten under the libs' skin, and it's there, and it's festering, and it's beautiful to behold.
You're not saying you think Republicans are going to stop it?
I don't think Donald Trump wants another election. You think for a second I have 24 Trump 2028 hats. His folks keep sending me.
And you think he's going to run again?
Who spends $200 million on a ballroom at their home and then leaves the house?
Of course, a Democrat can't wrap his mind around an idea of giving to your country. If you're in office, that is a precious thing. what is this office going to do for me financially? A guy like Gavin Newsom thinks, if I'm not wealthier leaving this office than when I get in, I've done it all wrong. Look at the Clintons. Yeah, boy. Well, Barry Soetoro, whatever is Barack Obama, he not a wealthy man when he entered the White House, and now he's drowning chefs over in Martha's Vineyard. I mean, it's a thing. That Trump is, Trump gilded the entire Oval Office. He's paying for it out of his own pocket. Trump has reached, this maybe also is an age thing. You get to a certain age. I'm not there yet. I think about this stuff, but it doesn't maybe consume me the way it will in 30 years, if I'm lucky enough to be around then. Trump is at the age where he's thinking very much about his legacy. He's thinking, what do I leave behind? Various presidents did things over the years that touched the White House in a significant way. The new patio over the Rose Garden, Trump's new patio, beautiful, by the way, beautiful, and a needed outdoor space for events. He did it. Trump understands how to entertain, right? This is his world. The ballroom, a necessary addition to the White House. The flagpole. He's going in, he's just remodeling the whole thing. And to me, one thing, obviously, he's going to leave this behind as a historic reminder of Trump's historic presidency. No question about it. The other component of it is, boy, this is just a guy who doesn't give a damn. He's just coming, it's like, well, what do you mean it's historic? Well, of course, Truman had the whole thing. Under Truman, the whole White House basically was torn down. The only thing that remained of the White House were four walls. The White House was coming apart. It was all old wood and it was rotted and everything. So they came in and gutted it, removed the historic interiors, packed them away, and then rebuilt the White House. Truman, for most of his presidency, lived at Blair House across the street. So Trump's thinking in this term, but back to the Newsom thing and back to all the libs that are out there going, he's a dictator. He is a dictator. Trump's gone full Mussolini, whatever. I still maintain it's just a troll. And I'm not going to lie. I'm here for it. I'm popping my popcorn and I'm just loving it. And then occasionally I'll have somebody, I'll have a friend or whatever come up to me, liberal friend, of course, and go, Sam, this is just too nutty. This is too, the guy really wants to stay. And I'll tell you what he wants. This is a man who wants to save his country. Trump is someone who wants to make a difference. He wants to be remembered. He wants a legacy. And I'm observing, by the way, mentorship of J.D. Vance and of some of the younger members of this administration, a la, let's say, certainly Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, right? But even like Caroline Leavitt, et cetera, that I see Trump wanting his political legacy to outlive him. I don't see somebody who just wants to hold on to power. I see somebody that wants the effort, understands that 4 years is a very little time to undo, really, frankly, the last 40 years of decay that's occurred in our country. Certainly 30. So this is what's going on. This country has been on a downhill slide since 1988. Okay? Reagan left office and tell me what, really be honest. In what ways have we advanced? And the reason we haven't advanced, honestly, honest to goodness, is that Reagan picked a terrible vice president. This is not said enough. Ronald Reagan picked George H.W. Bush, an insufferable, elitist, political insider who immediately turned around as president and began apologizing for everything that Reagan did. That's what happened. I'm telling you, and you could track. And at that point, the Republican Party became defeatist. And with George W. Bush, compassionate conservatism, whatever the hell that is, well, that was the last nail. All right, updates on Minneapolis when we come back. Stay tuned. I'm here. Don't worry. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. This is precisely the kind of useless opinions that I think are problematic. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. Tina Smith, Senator Tina Smith from Minnesota, wrote on X this morning, I dare you to go to the Annunciation School and tell our grieving community, in effect, guns don't kill kids, antidepressants do. Just shut up. Stop peddling bull. She says the word. You should be fired. And this was directed at Jesse Waters, Fox News host, who had a great monologue about this yesterday. Now, my response to this, by the way, if you don't follow me on Twitter, you ought to. All right, I'm on X. It's easy to sign up. You get on there. You support free speech. You don't have to pay any money. It's free. At What's Right Sam is where you can find me. So I want to see a few follows here from those of you who are faithful and loyal listeners to the program. Now, my point, my response to her on this was, why shut down a broader discussion of causes if your objective is to reach an actual solution? Because that's what I want. This is, I live in Realville. Remember how Rush would always say, I'm the mayor of Realville. And it stuck with me over the many, many years of faithfully listening to him. You can make up fantastic, unicorns and rainbow fart stories about how you're going to solve real problems. But until you actually come up with a real solution, it's all just noise. Now, nobody here, by the way, Jesse Waters' point basically was that he feels sorry for trans people because they're mentally ill. And I'm probably being very reductive of his general argument, but I said some very strong things yesterday as well that I stand by. But I'm not going to, I'm moving forward here now. What's the solution? You want solutions? Because all the left has is take the guns away. Now, number one, that's not a practical solution, because even if, Barack Obama had his way, remember one time Barack Obama, a few times, he would say, well, this pesky Constitution just getting in the way of me getting stuff done. Meaning, if only Barack Obama could get rid of the Constitution, he could have really remade America in the image of some socialist African country. So, anyway, even if you made the Second Amendment disappear, poof, it's not there. Tell me about this. There's a gun registry and a gun confiscation program that immediately goes into effect. Okay? How big of a country are we? How many people are there? Are they all law-abiding? By the way, who's going to turn in their guns? Law-abiding people who have something to lose. For example, I would have to make a decision. I have guns. Do I turn them in? If I don't, I risk jail time. I risk losing my law license, my livelihood. My whole life is gone. That's a problem. So I probably, at the end of the day, would turn my guns in. Does, Joe Blow, the gangbanger, turn his guns in? Does Mr. and by the way, this is an update to the story with the trans shooter yesterday. Apparently in this manifesto somewhere, he wrote that he was perhaps dying of cancer. Does someone with nothing to lose turn in their guns voluntarily? So the next argument, of course, is the answer is no, right? But the next argument is, well, yes, but gradually they go away. Well, I'm going to tell you something flat out. Even in the Soviet Union, you could buy a gun on the black market. If you really wanted to buy a gun, you could get one. This is a message to all of the Pollyannish Democrats out there that live in fantasy world. Okay? Disney adults, right? Well, I like Disney. I can't throw that around too much. Well, but that's what even in the biggest gun control. What do you think? There's no gun control in Mexico? Do you have any idea? They got gun control in Mexico. It's hard to buy a gun as a legal, law-abiding citizen. Boy, do they have. Have you heard of the cartels? So if you want it, you're going to get it, particularly in a largely open and free society like the United States. So you're not going to fix it with gun control. So, all right, so were there other causes? Why are we being so incurious? This is my point, I guess. Why are we being so incurious about, I don't know, the whatever drugs he was on? Why are we being incurious about this, the trans component? Obviously, this person was suffering from some mental illness. And by the way, big front page today in the New York Post about how the shooter, he was apparently not happy with having transitioned. And it's not exactly, I'm not sure, by the way, if he ever went through any kind of chemical process or surgical process, but he did change his name from male to female. He was unhappy about it. He, quote unquote, wished it never had happened. Now, Alex Berenson of COVID era fame, meaning he was one of these early opponents to all the COVID nonsense going on, has been talking a lot about in the last 24 hours about cannabis, about THC. He talks about how cannabis does create psychosis. And one thing that the manifesto contained, this is the quote. I'll just make sure none of this gets lost in translation. I want to be very accurate here, Robbie. I think I am dying of cancer, the shooter wrote. It's a tragic end, and it's entirely self-inflicted. I did this to myself as I cannot control myself, and I've been destroying my body through vaping and other means. So what's he likely doing? What's he likely doing when you say when he's, vaping? I mean, it's THC. Now, Berenson's right about this. I've had my longest friend from elementary school. I mean, basically, we'd been buddies since the first grade. He became unrecognizable in his 20s because the guy smoked so much weed. I know a lot of conservatives even who like to smoke marijuana. But some of the stuff out there now is very strong. But of course, the left doesn't want to talk about this. We don't want to say that marijuana actually might turn out to be a dangerous drug. And don't talk to me about if you've got cancer, dying late stage, and you're in pain. Of course, right? Medical marijuana, I get it. But that it is a recreational legal drug now, basically functionally legalized and getting abused by teens and people in their early 20s to the point that they're losing their minds. I kind of think that when somebody who writes about how they've been doing this and how they're going crazy and they go and they shoot up a school full of kids, kind of a relevant issue, no? And then there's the various drugs, right? SSRIs. Then there's think about, we didn't even get too much into this yesterday, but I know there is widespread abuse of drugs for kids starting at a very young age for, basically, it's supposed to be attention deficit disorder or ADHD or ADD. It doesn't matter. These are kids that just are active. And parents, instead of managing an active kid, end up medicating the child to make their lives easier. There are so many layers to this. I'm going to continue talking about it because all the left wants is to go guns. It's guns. And I'll come back to this over and over again. Not that long ago, my generation, okay, when my wife went to school in Centerville, Utah, and her brothers who were older than her would take their guns. It was permitted, took their guns to school, left them locked up in their cars, and went hunting after class. Were there any school shootings? Sure weren't. Why? Well, they weren't on dope. They weren't on ADHD meds. They weren't on SSRIs. They had, most of them, two parents at home. They had religion. They had a lot of social cohesion. The left has destroyed us and replaced God and replaced parents with weed. I know that's a little bit of an oversimplification, but that's kind of how it feels, right? Religion's been chased out of schools. It's okay if mom and dad gets divorced because parents should follow their happiness. Be yourself. Kids were told your self-esteem matters. It doesn't matter if you're becoming a worthless human being. Your self-esteem matters. You're great the way you are. The greatest lie ever told anyone, ever. You're good the way you are. Parents that don't want to parent, teachers that are prevented from disciplining kids, restorative justice, that kind of thing. It's just the entire new liberal order has deteriorated our society. We have to be real about this. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, back in a moment. Don't go anywhere.
The Salmon Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
Well, hey, friends. Thank you for all the X follows. At What's Right Sam is where you find me. Sherry, Mark, Tim, Isabella, Evangeline, Lola, Paul, Ken, Rod, I see you all, just to name a few. Welcome to where you need to be. Friends, the show, by the way, let me just express a word of deep gratitude to each and every one of you. You know, Robbie and I, producer Robbie, who you don't get to hear from, but is always in my ear and in my thoughts. We've been together a long time, working together. Actually, Robbie, you're one of my oldest friends too. Met in high school, and then Robbie went and did different things, including serving our country in Afghanistan in the Air Force, and returned back. Went to work for another radio host that perhaps you all have heard of, and then worked with me actually at KBC in LA, and we had a great post drive time 7 to 9 show Monday through Friday in LA. And I moved to Vegas and took some time off from radio to get my firm started and up off the ground. Startups are a lot of work. Radio is consuming. It might seem like it's just fun talking here for a couple hours, but I mean, it's a 2-to-1 prep time all in. So if you do an hour of air, you're pretty much doing 2 hours of prep. So you begin prepping for the next day almost as soon as you get off the show. It's a very consuming thing. I do it because I love it. And what you're seeing here with this program is, something that was something once upon a time in LA, and now we're rebuilding it here in the Nevada desert, and it's spreading beyond Las Vegas. We're getting downloads all around the world. We have people interested in syndicating us, which is exciting. We're in conversations about that. We have requests for media appearances. All this stuff, it's happening. And I love it. I enjoy it. Again, I'm busy with 2 other day jobs, most notably, of course, Salmon Ash injury law. And so, I really, I felt so strongly. I remember, and I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you why I came back to radio. Is it okay if I digress here for a minute? It's okay if I get off topic. All right. So listen, here's what happened. I hung it up. Remember, I was like, okay, we're done. 20, I think that was 2018. 2019, I moved to Nevada. And because I knew that move was coming, and I was kind of separating from my previous firm that I was at, and it was like, okay, I got to rebuild. So 2018, 2019. Then what happened? What happened in 2020? Well, a few things, right? COVID first, and then all the BS, and then January 6th and everything. And I'll tell you, I was over here and I was just fuming. I was fuming over what was going on. And I was in the, I got re-radicalized all over again. And one thing that that really struck me during COVID is that there were very few people that were brave enough to stick their heads out and say the truth. One of the things, if you ask me, in all my life of what are you most proud of, I am most proud of that here in Nevada, a prominent left-wing, some blogger here wrote to all of their followers that I wanted people to die of COVID. And it was a big scandal here in Vegas for a brief moment because I, was already then a public figure, did a lot of advertising. We, got into the market in 2019 and people knew who I was. And it was a scandalous thing because I was advocating that we reopen our city. I was advocating for kids to go back to school. I was advocating for common sense solutions. By the way, I've been proven right on all of these things. It was ridiculous that the kids were kept out of school for 2 years. That was nuts. It was ridiculous that we kept businesses closed. The death toll that was forecast was nonsense. And the fallibility of experts and the experts class as a group was, I think, well established. So I'm there. I'm a little bit, was on X at the time, not a lot. And I just thought, I'm making a public stand, but where I miss my audience, I miss having a platform. I miss having a show where I can express my opinion because I need to be front and center here talking about this. And so I got back into the game. That's legitimately the reason why. And then of course, that positioned us all to be together through this insane, I call it the interregnum period, which is basically between two rulers, and the two rulers, of course, being one, Donaldus Maximus. The interregnum here was the disastrous absentee person presidency of none other than Joe Biden. Also, little Joe, just 4 years of I don't know what. I don't think he knows either, but certainly a lot of evil things went down. The raid on Mar-a-Lago being a seminal moment. So here we are, right? We're in this together. I desperately, deeply appreciate everything that each and every one of you do by tuning in, supporting me, sending me emails. It matters. And the best part about it is we're starting something big here. This show's going to grow. It's going to become bigger than just, it'll always be right here in Las Vegas, Nevada, but it's going to go beyond the four corners of our beautiful valley. And I'm excited for it. I hope you are too. It's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, friends, I got to giving me faces over here. We got a bottom of the hour here. Obscene profit time out, as Rush would call it. Be back in just a moment. And again, sam@whatsrightshow.com. If you've got an email, thought, email me. Let me know. I'm here for it. Oh, great email here from listener Walter. I'm just going to start with it right now, right off the gate. By the way, you can email me, sam@whatsrightshow.com. All right, welcome back. What's Right Show brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. Walter asks me, given that transgenderism is an obvious mental condition, can the feds put that question on the gun background checks like you? Have you ever considered yourself a different gender? Walter, Wally, I see here is what you go by. Wally, I think I would put it on there, 100%. You know, it's back to, we're done with political correctness, okay? It's 2025. Political correctness is out the window. I'm not here for your feelings. I'm here for real solutions. If you think that you aren't male, but you're a biological male, if you think that you're not a woman when you're born a woman, that's fine. We can be a compassionate society. We're not forced to be a delusional society. And one of the things about delusion, right, is that it's very dangerous. Deluded people are dangerous. Somebody thinks they're a bird and they're atop the Stratosphere Hotel on the Las Vegas Strip, and they jump and flap their wings and find out, oh no, wait a minute, I was born a human and not, as a bald eagle. Disaster will, gravity will do its thing, and you're not going to survive that. That's just one example. So, perfectly reasonable question. Any question about your mental state is a reasonable question when buying guns. I don't think we should sell guns to crazy people. But, there it is. Will it go on there? I don't know. But I think it's a great proposition. All right. Now, Wally, the second part of your question, by the way, you asked two questions here. I'm going to get to the second part of it here, which is banning hoodies and face masks in D.C. Could we do that? Yeah, you could do it. I think you could do it. Public safety, on a public safety basis. Now, there is a very important conversation going on. I've covered it a lot about crime. And one of the things that Trump has done, so I was trying to focus, I was trying to explain what's going on. Here are the facts, and what does it mean? You know what the facts are. The National Guard in D.C. is making a difference. Federalizing the police force is making a difference. Jeanine Pirro, as the U.S. attorney, drafting military lawyers to come in basically and act as judges to fast track federal cases and to get people moved through the system and penalized and sent to prison, sent to jail, is working. All of these things are gradually bringing DC, and gradually, very quickly actually, bringing DC into a better place. Now, what it means, what this is leading to, is widespread panic among our friends on the other side of the aisle. Okay? Pritzker in Illinois, absolutely freaking out that Trump is going to send in the National Guard. Rightly so, because, of course, if you've seen the latest news in Chicago, murders just keep happening. And actually, the panic's so big that in California, Gavin Newsom held a press conference where he said, hey, I am sending out all these cops. I'm doing all this stuff. Yeah, but wait, we have the clip. This was wild. So Newsom, this is his press conference. This is today. He's got the CHP high command there in the room, and they're talking about crime.
And we've received additional requests in other parts of the state. And that's what we wanted to highlight here today, that we're going to be expanding this operation, building on the success that is now included over 9,000 arrests statewide, a effort that will now take shape on border division down in San Diego. We're going to advance this effort down in L.A., to other parts of the Central Valley, not just limited to Bakersfield, in partnership with Mayor Go there in San Bernardino. And we're going to expand this operation in a collaborative that continues to include the cities and counties, our partners in the Sheriff's Office and local law enforcement agencies.
Robbie, I know you're most of you not on the podcast or on YouTube, you can't see the video. It's okay. Let me describe to you. He's sitting behind a desk. There's all these flags behind him, California and American flags alternating. You've got the CHP officers in New York in uniform. And then you've got somebody from the, I think probably from the California Attorney General's office. Anyway, so they're talking about resources. Newsom is sitting at this desk with his fingers interlocked, like a prayer clasp of the hands, because Trump criticized him yesterday with his crazy hand gestures, and now it's in Newsom's head. And Newsom yesterday he was doing all sorts of crazy hand gestures up in the Politico roundtable, but now he's got his hands locked together. It's in his head. Just a little small aside. Now, what's he doing? We have this under control. We are sending in the police. We are doing all this stuff. Do not send the National Guard. We don't. And like that, Donald Trump got the Democrats to admit there's a crime problem. And like that, Donald Trump got the Democrats to admit that the solution to this crime problem is more cops. I'm starting to think Trump is a miracle worker. This guy, I mean, he's literally teaching. Like, this is a beautiful thing. I don't know what I'm looking at. But by the way, the minute that the reporters challenged Newsom on this plan, go, but wait a minute. The reality on the ground. Listen what happened. The minute that he finished talking, this is what it sounded like.
Everyone. Trafficking, is that, I mean, not to get specific, but trafficking in this area.
And there comes the press secretary. Okay, everybody leave the room. Everybody out. And he's just sitting there with his hands clenched, and he is not answering a single question. By the way, that's the difference, really, between Newsom and Trump, right? Trump will just sit there and answer questions from the media. Hey, you're an idiot. Yeah, no, next. Boom, boom, boom. He doesn't need some media person to go, okay, everybody's done now. Everybody's done. Trump kicked a reporter out of the Oval Office 2 days ago because his cell phone went off. Whose phone rang? Yeah, you're out of here. Get out. Such an alpha. I mean, what's Newsom doing? Newsom is, I mean, he's so effete and it's all fake, whatever. But my point is, he's getting them to panic. He's gotten under their skin with these threats of sending in the National Guard and making Newsom, making Pritzker, making other Democrat governors, Wes Moore, for example, making them look like they are not able to control their states. And each one of these people are pretenders. Okay, I say pretenders, contenders, all right, in 2028. These are people Pritzker does, certainly Newsom does, Moore probably does, ambitions of becoming the Democratic nominee in 2028. It's an interesting development. So, I mean, I'm just saying it's in development. Now, Newsom, this press conference comes on the unfortunate news report from KTLA 5 in Los Angeles. This is a local station in LA. that ran a whole story on the top 10 dirtiest cities in the country. Let me just say this. This study did not do good things for California.
Study has ranked the dirtiest cities in all of America, and unfortunately for California, the rankings did not go in our favor. The rankings come from the national lawn care company Lawn Starter. They analyzed cleanliness in categories such as pollution, living conditions, waste infrastructure, and resident dissatisfaction with the environment. San Bernardino was ranked the dirtiest city both in California and in America. Los Angeles ranked number 2 on both the state and national list. Detroit, Michigan placed number 3, followed by Reading, Pennsylvania. 2 more California cities placed in the top 10. Ontario was ranked as the 5th dirtiest city. Corona rounded out the top 10 at number 10. Here's the thing. When you first visit California and LA, you kind of see it.
That line at the end. The thing is, when you first visit California and LA, you kind of see it. What's that story we all read when we were kids, or had read to us when we were kids? The Emperor's New Clothes. Oh, what beautiful robes you have, my lord. Oh, your majesty, you're so fine. Look at the gold and the lace and the jewels. It's so beautiful. And along comes a little boy and goes, but the emperor's naked. And then everybody began laughing. We're at that point with the left. You can't keep swearing to people that the sun is up when it's the middle of the night. Gavin Newsom has gotten away with it for years, just blatantly lying. Oh, no, that's not what it is. Oh, no, we're the number 4 economy in the world. Okay. Using select statistics to paint a picture that California is this magical place. Are the beaches in California magical? Yes. Are there a lot of very wealthy companies and people still living in California? Yes. Are they living there because of the tax climate or the business climate? No. Are they living there because of the beautiful beaches? Yes. You can go through the whole thing. If it were for the Democrats, California would be literally the best place to live and to do business in the world. But because California has dived headfirst into liberalism, it's this deteriorating, crumbling place. And that's what the stories are. This is not a political story. This is just reporting on the facts. The same people who watch KTLA, these are Republicans, Democrats, everybody kind of normal people listen to this. And so they're seeing on TV Gavin Newsom talking about California is the best and screw Trump. And then they tune in and they hear, why, LA's the number 2 dirtiest place in the country, followed by Detroit. That's not good. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Making radio great again. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone at What's Right Sam on Twitter, on X, as it is now called. Find me there and follow me, please. Okay, let's see here. A couple of things I want to just touch on briefly here. A word from the CDC. The Trump administration, look, they're making moves and they're firing people. And the long and the short of it is they got rid of one of their, the director there, Susan Menares, and she's also fighting her removal. So that's going to be another fight. But basically all of the people that got everything wrong are being tossed out and they're screaming. And the number one complaint that you're hearing against RFK Jr. and, the Trump overlords is that we're losing all of the experts. But what happens when the experts got everything wrong, right? Maybe it's time to try something new. And RFK Jr. is promising some further guidance and enlightenment on the subject of autism and vaccine risk. So this will be very interesting. It needs to be talked about. it's been, basically the subject that you can't touch, you can't bring it up, you can't say anything. And all the experts say there's no causal link, but we've had this huge uptick of autism, and we keep pumping a bunch of new vaccines earlier and earlier into our kids. Maybe it's something that ought to be discussed. So there's that. Now, the other thing, of course, to bring up here is, I'm just coming back for a brief moment to the subject of the Minnesota shooting. I said this yesterday. I made a big point about it. There's further reports now that the mother is missing. My big point yesterday, one of them, besides the trans issue, was parents ought to be held responsible for when they have a minor child at home who commits a mass murder. Right? Number two, if the child is an adult but still living at home, being financed by the parents, potentially, you have a duty to make sure that your kid isn't, preparing for war upstairs in his room. Where the hell were these parents? That the mom has disappeared, that the mom is now, based on reports, what I'm seeing, nowhere to be found. The latest report here is that the mom, Mary Westman, appears to have fled. The police can't track her down, have not been able to talk to her. And this is a fresh report as of 40 minutes ago. So this seems to be holding true. We'll know more tomorrow, certainly when we talk. But these are the parents that helped the kid transition, maybe push the kid transition. The mom worked at the school. Probably, who knows? I don't know. Did the shooter go to that school? Did he attend that school? It's not immediately clear. But again, he had $7,000 plus worth of ammo, of weaponry. He had time on his hands. He was shooting the video. I saw online a videographer explaining how the point of view camera that he used to film his YouTube manifesto, that's not inexpensive equipment. Like, that wasn't just some, GoPro camera that he hooked up. That having that top down, perfectly, rectangular cinematic view of his notebook is actually some expensive equipment. So these were parents who, I didn't have that kind of money at 22. Well, I was already working and whatnot, but where's this money coming from? There's liability here. You want to get at root causes? Again, what the hell are these parents doing? They're culpable in this. The fact that she's gone into hiding and is not cooperating with law enforcement at a time when families desperately want answers, I think is a little bit suspicious. I understand if your kid suddenly goes out and does this, that maybe your world goes upside down. You have a duty to talk to the police. I'm sorry. That's your duty as a human being. So I think there's a lot still here that needs to be talked about. Anybody out there reducing it to it's the guns is broadly missing the point. I'm going to repeat it again. If you look at it, guns have been in this country for a long time. There was a time there were more guns per individual adult person in America earlier in our nation's history. And then the other aspect of this is that I need to get to. The other aspect of it I need to get you to is I'm telling you, I am, and I have to, I'm going to read this. I guess I'm just going to have to read it. So I'm not just all just tongue-tied over this because it's so upsetting to me. There was this is out of Oregon, the Eugene Weekly. But there's a lot of stuff like this floating around. A cover, when was this from? It's not exactly clear when this cover was. It's a recent cover to okay, here we go. June 19th, 2025, volume 44, number 25. And it has what looks like a man dressed up as a woman with makeup holding a rifle. And it says here in the piece, it says Eve Weston holds an AR-15 style rifle. And it big heading on there, are you triggered? And the subheading here is, as the Trump administration attacks trans people, some queer folks are armed and ready to bash back. What is this? Tell me what high-profile mass murder has been committed, or attack, even a single attack, where a MAGA Trumpster goes out and kills a random trans person because they're trans. Now think about how many of these incidents you have where trans people are going out and lashing out. The violent rhetoric from the left is off the charts. And I'm telling you, there is a whole bunch of people that we even know, that are quietly sympathizing with this. Catholics got what they deserve. The MAGA conservatives got what they deserve. This is Trump's fault. This is sick. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll see you then.